There are over 60 million Hispanics in the United States. Through Bienvenido, I have the privilege of meeting members of the Hispanic community that have inspiring stories. They are trailblazers, giants in civic leadership, and serve as pillars that lift cultural prosperity over our community. Join me here on The Abraham Enriquez Show. Hola amigos, I want to thank you so much for joining in today. And for my very first episode, I thought it'd be really important to just share a little bit about myself and for you to get to know me. And I want to share a story that I love telling everyone that I meet. And it sums up pretty much why I believe in certain things. And it's a story of a young girl. Now, bear with me. It's a great story. Now, this young girl, right before going to college, became with child. Now, obviously, it was a surprise and not planned. So after, several weeks of emotional conversations with her friends and her family, she found herself in her very first doctor's appointment. Now, she was in the waiting room questioning a lot of things of her future. Was college going to be a thing? The father of the child was no longer in the picture. So it was a very, very difficult time for this young girl. So she gets called back, goes to the checkup, and immediately after, the physician walks in and she hands her a blank piece of paper and she says, "What I want you to do is I want you to write down all your dreams and your goals and everything that you want to accomplish in the future." This young girl took the paper and pen, and for the first time in what seemed like forever, this young girl thought, there is someone here that wants to talk about my dreams, what I want to do, my hopes. And she had a sense of hope in what seemed like forever. Now, this young girl started writing down that she wanted to go to college. She wanted to open up businesses. She wanted to find a great man, a God-fearing man that was going to take care of her and her family and start a great family and get involved and give back to her community. And she just spent minutes writing down everything that she wanted to accomplish. And with a big smile on her face, she handed that paper back to her physician. Now, the physician went down the list of dreams that this young girl had, and with a small, soft smile, she turned to the young girl and she says, "Well, everything that you wrote down here is great, but you won't be able to accomplish any of this, not with what you have inside you." And she tore the paper into pieces, and as those pieces hit the ground, so did the sense of hope that this young girl had in her heart. Now, the physician sits down next to her and she pats her on her knee and she says, "But don't worry, there's an option that you can take that will still allow you to accomplish those things." She pulls out a pamphlet and she starts talking to her of her options of abortion. Now, this was the first time this young girl ever even thought or heard of the idea of aborting a child. Something about it just didn't sit right with her. She took the pamphlet and went home and had a very emotional conversation with her parents. Her parents wrapped her in her arms and they said, "It's going to be difficult and it's going to be hard, but you're not going to take this option because this is not what we believe in and this is not what we've taught you to do." Now, I want to fast forward just a little bit. This young girl actually, gave birth to her child and entered and completed college on the right track. And this young girl grew to do some pretty phenomenal things. She found a phenomenal man that became her husband and father of her child and grew a great family with him. She started many businesses, small businesses across the states of like Texas and California and even Puerto Rico. This young girl fell in love with the Second Amendment because she realized that it is a right that protects the individual. She mentors women and young girls who find themselves in the situation that she once did. And she realized that it is important to get elected officials into office who stand on the principles of protecting life and protecting the unborn. So she became involved in politics. She now runs the largest and oldest conservative Hispanic organizations in the country, getting those elected officials into office, making sure that this country stands on pro-life values. She recently sat down at the office of Jared Kushner to talk about immigration reform because she knows that that's also something that her community desperately needs, and quite frankly, something that this country needs. She sits on the President's Hispanic Advisory Council, and she's an associate pastor at her local church, where she gets to just talk about her stories and mentor young people and making sure that they know the importance of self-governance, discipline, and accountability. Now, this young girl, has grown to hold many hats and does many things. But this young girl is someone that I call my mom. And that child she chose life for is me. So today, I want to invite my mom, Chairwoman of the Republican National Hispanic Assembly, today to have a conversation with me. So, Madam Chair, Mom, Madre, welcome to the Abraham Enriquez Show. Oh. So, I always talk about that story. So, the events that you've gone to with me, I take advantage of the fact that you're there because we hardly ever get to travel together. And I love sharing that story. So many people have already heard that, but what I want them to hear is your side of that story and the lessons you've learned.
Well, Abraham, first of all, thank you for having me here and for launching this amazing project and choosing me to be the first guest. So thank you so much for inviting me, and I love you so much. The story, I think this is such a special story because it's our story, and you're sharing it with the world. And I think it's a perfect time because of what we're going through and what we're living. It's so important for us to share it, and I'm just excited to be here, and I just wish you well with everything, and I'm just very excited to be here. So my side of the story, I could tell you, so I could go on and on all night, but I'm going to start with, first of all, I did go to the clinic. It was from the school referred me to the clinic, my first appointment, and apparently it was a new program that had started for minors that came out pregnant, and it was a Planned Parenthood. And so actually it's planning for you not to be a parent, basically. That's what it is. And I did not know it was what it meant, what it is, and it was a big issue between my goals that I had handed her, and so she just shredded it apart. And what she asked me was, the only way you can get to your goals, which are on the other side of the mountain, is getting rid of the mountain, which is what you're carrying. That is a mountain. Get rid of it, and you will be able to get to your goals. They offered me scholarships and grants, and I just went home. I was devastated. I was nervous. I was scared. And I was a roller coaster of emotions. I remember getting to my mom and my dad, and I was crying, and I was like, I don't know what I'm going to do. I'm just nervous. And the second conversation came with them, which I don't know which one was worse. If it was this Planned Parenthood one or my parents, it was Plan B was my parents, and they said, you're not a victim, and you have to take responsibility. You have to own what you did. And from now on, you're going to have to grow up and take ownership of what you did. And that just to me, I'm a young teenager. And somebody putting this big load, like, it's your responsibility. Abortion is not an option. And not that and I want to clarify, I never thought of it as an option. I never thought abortion would be an option. I was just scared. And so after that, after all the nervousness and being sick and throwing up, everything that comes with pregnancy, because I was sick with you. I was really sick. And so everything that comes with pregnancy, it all goes down. You forget about everything when the baby's born, when they handed you to me. And you were preemie, so I saw you and I just thought, you are the most beautiful baby I have ever seen in my whole entire life. Like, there's no other baby prettier than you. And so I really thought that, by the way, no mom has an ugly baby. All the moms have a cute baby. So everything just went, because the beauty outweighs everything, all the chaos, everything that comes with it. It's just so much love and beauty that comes with the baby. And those were the first challenges I had in my life when I came out pregnant.
So I want to focus a little bit about what my grandparents, your parents told you immediately of the whole like victimhood mentality, because growing up, you and Dad have really, really engraved that in mine and my brother's, heart and mind, is that you are not a victim. You can get out of a situation if you work hard or stand on moral and ethical values. And right now, what we see is so many people acting upon rage because they feel like they're entitled to this victimhood mentality. Do you think that we can revert and go back to, teaching the idea that victimhood is actually enslaving of the mind?
Definitely. I think that's something that we as parents, and actually parents should instill this in their kids, the entitlement that kids have now. And instead of getting out of that victim stage, which actually allows you to just not accomplish your goals when you're in that victim stage. And that's something that when I was very, very young, at a young age, I had to like snap out of it, because if I would have stayed in the victim stage, I wouldn't have accomplished those goals. And it's so important for us to follow that.
Yeah, I mean, being pregnant and having the victim stage mentality, I don't think you could have made it through college. I mean, I remember in my years of college, this sounds so cheesy to even say now, but every finals week, I think you even knew that I was going to call you wanting to quit, because I just didn't want to do that. I can only imagine myself, and I'm very, very thankful that the Lord has blessed us to where you and Dad allowed me to go to college and not worry so much about, doing the extra things to get me through. You guys helped me a lot, but for you, that was all you. You were pregnant, had to work, and full-time student.
Yes.
That is very, very, very intense. Yes. But I want you to talk about that, because being pregnant made you have to work during college, and because you worked in a specific political activity, that opened doors for your career now. So ultimately, you working during college paved the way for you to be able to do what you're doing now. Talk a little bit about that.
I never asked my dad and my mom for money for Pampers or for formula. I knew I had to work. They had made it very, very clear that I had to work. And so that's something that us as parents, we need to still teach our children that.
Well, being driven to hard work is such a Hispanic value, I think, and a concept that we hold dear to our hearts. I mean, look at the riots that are going on. I don't really see many Hispanics out there, not because I don't think we don't want to be out there, practicing the First Amendment, but because we have to work.
We're working.
We got to get food on the table. But that's for another conversation. How did you feel? How did you feel like after I was born? Because I think the conversations we've had, you had a mentality during your pregnancy. Then I was born, and then you kind of saw this shift in your character and your personality. Like, talk about that change and that feeling that you had.
Well, I went from being a girl to being a mother. I didn't have much of the teenager's life, the college life, like or high school life. And so it really didn't hit me until 2 days after I had you. 2 days. I remember waking up, and as usual, I got up and I got on my knees and started praying by my bed, and I took off the comforter, the blanket, threw it to the floor, which I don't know why I would do that. That was the last day I ever did it. Never did it again. But I grabbed the comforter and threw it across the room, fixed the sheets, and then I heard some noise, and it was like, and I'm like thinking, what is that? And I was getting close to the comforter, and I'm like freaking out. I'm like thinking, it's like a bird, I don't know what it is. I thought it was an animal, and I was like trying to get close, but I was scared. And as I was getting closer and I started moving the comforter, I saw your face, and I'm like, oh my gosh, it's my son, it's Abraham. Like, I'm actually a mother. and he's not a doll that I can put away when I don't want it. And I almost killed him. Like, I threw him across the room. I almost killed him, and I felt like the worst mom ever. Immediately after that, I was crying, and I went to tell my sister. I asked for the keys for the church, and I asked my brother to take me because I was underage. I couldn't drive. So he took me to church, and I locked myself there. It was just you, me, and the Lord. And I remember just falling on my knees and saying, Lord, just help me. I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know what's going to happen. I need your help. And it was a very, very raw conversation. Like, it was very raw. I told him everything. I asked him to step into my life, step into your life as a father. And I just needed him. I needed his help. I just wanted to know he was going to take care of me. And this is so important because that prayer meant so much. Later on down the road, a few years later, when I was teaching the youth, and a lot of our youth were having issues with fatherless. They don't have fathers. And so I was coming up with the Bible study, and I came up to a scripture that's one of my favorite scriptures now. I love it because it gives us a promise. And it's Psalms 68:5. And it says that he is a father to the fatherless. And when I came to that scripture, it brought me back to that day I went and fell on my knees and said, step into his life. When you are weak, he is strong in you. And that's so important because nowadays we think we can do it all on our own and we can make choices. But God says that those babies have a father. And he is their father. That's why I am 100% unapologetically pro-life. 100%. There's no reason why somebody should not allow a baby to be born. There's no reason. I am 100% unapologetically pro-life. And that's what we need. We need more of Jesus. It's not just about me. It's about the people that surround it. It doesn't make me better just because I had you. And other pro-lifers. And some that didn't have. Some that did go through abortion. It doesn't make one better than the other. The thing is that we need more of the support. I had mom and dad to tell me, you're going to have it. Some might not have the dad. Some might not have the father of the baby. Some might have the friends. And we let so many people come and try to manipulate or make choices for us. And I think that's where we as humans should just be better. We should be a better person.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That scriptures that you said, I remember the first 4 years of my life, I spent it with my grandparents because you were in school, you were working, and so my grandparents were the ones, since I can remember, I had to go with them while you were in class. It was either, and they're pastors, so it was either an elders meeting or a church prayer night or a Wednesday service or a fasting day. So church was my childhood at first because, you were busy doing what you needed to do, and when you were home, I was with you. But grandparents took me in and said, well, we need to instruct you. And so you would say that verse to me the first 4 years of my life and up till now, because dad didn't come into my life until I was 4 or 5. So I never saw God as a distant person or a distant thing or someone that I thought, I think most people in Christianity think, I messed up, so now God is mad at me. Or I messed up, and so now I can't go to church. But because I always saw God as my actual father, like someone who stepped in and said, I am your father, it engraved in my mind to think, if I mess up, I need to go to God because he is my father, not I need to hide from God because I messed up. And that had a lot to do with my first 4 years being so deeply rooted in the church with grandma and grandpa. And I want to thank you for doing that, for letting me be born in ministry in the church and seeing the importance of being involved in church. Because right now you have so many young people who say, I can be a Christian and not go to church. And okay, that's fine. But for me, I need to go to church. I need to hear that God loves me, that God has forgiven me, that God has redeemed me. Like I need to physically to hear that in order to go through what society says is normal and is something that I should be okay with, because this world is not my world. So what society says is good for me, I ultimately know that it's probably not true. And I kind of want to talk a little bit about, going back to the physician saying, you're not going to accomplish this, you're not going to do this, and you are not one to brag because you don't do it. But I want to brag a little bit about you, because I love that you proved her wrong. You really did. And some of the most like amazing memories that I have, or just small little things that come to my mind, is going home from college and or even in high school, and hearing you at the kitchen table ending a call saying, okay, well, thank you, Governor, for your call, or thank you, Senator so-and-so, or Congressman so-and-so, or Ambassador so-and-so. Like, you have these people as friends, and you have these people that you help guide to either get the Hispanic vote or learn how to be, community leaders. And I think that's so important. Like, I remember the first time a governor called you, we were in the kitchen table, and it's just, did that actually happen? But that was the beginning of many, many calls of leaders that see you as a leader and ask for your help or ask for your guidance. And talk a little bit about that, about how you feel now. What would you say to that physician that told you you're not going to accomplish any of these things?
I wish I would have had a stronger voice, a louder voice. I was very naive and just very naive, very shunned by every society, and being a minority. It was at that moment a pastor's daughter. It's kind of like hide behind the blankets, don't come out until you have the baby. It was just, for me, it was shameful, and it's not. I mean, it shouldn't be. And that is something that I wish I would have had, that strong voice. Now, I voice my opinions, maybe too much. I don't know. When they called me to be part of the advisory board of the president, I'm like, are you sure? Because I will give my opinions, when I see something that I can help. Not because I want to be judgmental, but things that I can help, and I see the elephant in the room and I'm like, hey, we need to take care of it. I want to help. I want them to see that. And so I'm very much, I love helping people. I love people. I love helping people. It's just, I'm passionate about it. So I just think I wish I would have had a stronger voice. But I had the courage. The Lord gave me the courage.
So not too off topic here, but right now, many schools are going virtual, and kids don't really have much to do. And I think that's a very dangerous thing, because of what you experienced and what you went through, you made sure that me and my brothers were constantly active and busy. I mean, if it was after school programs, it was piano classes or soccer practice, or we were constantly always doing something. And that, after high school, going to college, that taught me to just not sit still and wait for the things that crawl around and kind of, and we have mess ups here and there, yes, but you really, and I think, I don't want to say this is a Hispanic thing, but I think we understand, like, keep your children busy. And right now that so many children are sitting at home not busy, what do you, because you're very active, I mean, you were very active in like PTA, like you were PTA
Yes.
chapter mom, like you were the president of PTA.
Yes.
Like, you're very, very active. How important is it for parents to re-engage in that school system?
It's very important. I remember in my trunk I had PTA t-shirts for every school, because I had you in high school and then middle school and then elementary, my other son. So I had all these different kind of PTA shirts, but it's very important for us to be involved, not just involved in their lives, but get involved. I knew all your teachers, all of them knew me. Even your friends had my cell phone in case anything. I was very much involved, but I think we still need to be involved. That's what keeps us engaged with our children. The more they're not, and it's also good to go to school and be social with everybody else and their mates.
Yeah. So you're very involved in politics. Everyone knows that. What would you have to say? Because okay, so Hispanics we're the largest minority voting bloc this year. In history, that has never happened. This year, we are the largest minority voting bloc. You know the importance of the Hispanic vote.
Yes.
I mean, the amount of phone calls you've had with candidates telling them the Hispanic vote can make or break their election. Most Hispanics are independent, though. Like, they're conservative thinking, but on paper, they're not neither left nor right. But something that unites us all is Hispanics are the most pro-life ethnic group in the United States. So for the people that are telling you and saying, well, I really don't like this about this candidate or this about this candidate, what do you have to tell them about the importance of voting for a pro-life candidate? Because I truly believe there is only one pro-life candidate coming up in November. How important is it for Hispanics to unite our vote and say this is who we're casting, this is who we want, because they understand the values that we have as a community?
I think it's real easy. There's one, you just said it, there's one topic that we all unite in, and it's pro-life as Hispanics. That's part of our values. We believe in life. We believe in bringing life. And so when we talk about, hey, now we're in 2020, and we're having conversations of a Born Alive bill, which I don't know, you probably know about it, but the Born Alive bill is a bill that an aborted baby actually survived an abortion. A baby survived an abortion. And while it survived, it came out, the heart is beating, it's breathing, and the mom has the right in some states, they've given the mom the right to say, kill the baby. And so the Born Alive bill comes in and protects the baby. It's like baby versus mom. I just want to cry about it, because the baby's basically saying, I'm born, I'm alive. That's why it's called the Born Alive. Let me live. And this bill protects the life of that intention of abortion, that baby shouldn't have made it, and it was a warrior, and it was a trooper, and it fought through it, and it came out, and it's alive, and that bill protects it. I can't in my mind ever imagine somebody not wanting it to live. However, I do believe there's a small group that is against it, that is against it. And they're so loud, though. They're so very loud. But we care. As humanity, we care. And I think that's something, when I talk to people, we resonate, we connect in this issue, especially Hispanics. They don't want this to happen. And so I don't know where we lost this whole being humane and caring for humanity. We just have to return back to our values. And values are very important for the Hispanic community. Somebody that didn't sign it, that says, no, kill the baby, Kamala Harris. She's running as a running mate with the president, with Biden, who's running for president, and she is much against. She actually thinks that us pro-lifers should not even have a voice. We shouldn't even voice our opinion. We are non-existent to her. This is something that's very, very important for us to know who we put in office, because we want these babies to have right to live.
Absolutely. I think most people don't understand that you are chairwoman of the Republican National Hispanic Assembly, but I don't think most people know that you don't spend a lot of time with Republican Hispanic voters. You believe that that's preaching to the choir. You go where, deep blue cities and counties are, and you have these conversations with them. And they don't know that Kamala Harris, was not the pro-life born again, or the Born Alive bill. They also don't know that she was the only senator in a border state that voted against the USMCA agreement, which had bipartisan support from both the Democrat and Republican Party, that was going to bring thousands of jobs to the United States and enhance our, friendship and business relationship with Mexico. And she was one of few senators that voted against Jovita Carranza, one of the most powerful Hispanic women on this president's cabinet. She says she's pro-woman, but didn't vote for a woman to have a high-ranking, title on this cabinet. She says she's pro-business, but didn't want thousands of business to return to America and to Mexico. And she says she's pro-woman, but not the women that can be born into their future. And so it's very important for voters to know who they're voting for on this ballot. Well, Chairwoman, Pastor, Mom, I want to thank you for being my very first guest. It was a great conversation, and I hope that everyone tuning in benefited and loved hearing this story. And thank you all for tuning in, and I want to remind you that you can actually listen to this show via podcast wherever you get your podcast. And it's really sad that in America we're fighting for the idea that a baby deserves to live. And I believe that my generation, we will be the generation that finally outlaws abortion. So thank you for tuning in today, and I cannot wait for you to hear the next person that I have on my show. As always, stay blessed.